Pelosi rushing to be by the side of her husband Paul as we get some brand new details on this act of violence. Paul Pelosi brutally attacked with a hammer inside their San Francisco home this morning in the early hours of the morning. Reportedly, the deranged suspect was shouting, "Where is Nancy?" when he entered the house. The speaker was not there at the time. New video appears to show a smashed glass back door where the suspect may have entered their home. Police responded to a wellness check. We're not sure whether that was a home alarm or a call from Paul Pelosi. We're waiting on those details. It happened around 2:30 in the morning when they encountered this.
Our officers observed Mr. Pelosi and the suspect both holding a hammer. The suspect pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently assaulted him with it. Our officers immediately tackled the suspect, disarmed him, took him into custody, requested emergency backup, and rendered medical aid.
So it is not clear from the chief's comments who was initially holding the hammer, or whether the suspect brought it with him and used it to enter the home, or whether Mr. Pelosi perhaps grabbed it after he heard somebody breaking into his home. The 82-year-old remains hospitalized at this hour. Doctors treating him for blunt force injuries to the head and body. We're told that he's expected to make a full recovery, and we do not have any updates on his health. We know that
they both
Speaker
had
Pelosi's on her
one.
way to be with him in California now. The suspect is in custody. He faces several charges, including attempted homicide and elder abuse. Police are still working to determine a motive, but neighbors and people who knew him describe him as having some truly bizarre behavior. The suspect seemed at times to be out of touch with reality, they said. He had trouble with eye contact. They said that they cut off contact with him. One of them, he was house sitting for them. She said he was basically creeping her out and she didn't want to be in touch anymore. So, so the big question here is whether this is reflective of political violence that's happening in the country, or whether it's reflective of serious mental health issues in the country and violence in general across the country, or some combination of both. Kennedy?
I think you hit on it, and I think it is a combination of both, because I think where we're at, the president promised to bring down the tenor of political discourse in this country. That hasn't happened. People are more divided. There are people who see words as violence, and there are people who it's very easy for them to cross the line and commit acts of violence like this because they are moved by their politics. When you combine that kind of rage, that sort of systemic cultural rage that we have right now that hasn't calmed down, with untreated mental illness, that's when you have things like this happen. And for anyone, whether it's a Supreme Court justice, the Speaker of the House, or anyone who holds visible elective office, it's a really scary time. And especially in California, where so much money goes to social services, they're not doing it right. They really have failed the mentally ill, especially those who are violently mentally ill in that state. And they have not created appropriate systems to identify and treat people like this. And it's really sad that after the fact, we're hearing about all of these symptoms when, with all that money and all of those resources, someone like this should have been identified and treated before something this tragic happens.
Tyrus,